Ab initio is a GUI-based ETL tool used for high-end data processing and batch processing applications. The normal extract, transform, and load. So you can extract your data, transform using your Ab initio graphs and plans, and then you have to load your data. So the basic high-end processing as well as complex data processing environments we will be using Ab initio. As you are aware with Ab initio, I will quickly go through this introduction slides on architecture. So if you need more information, you can stop then and there, and I can help you with more information, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ab initio has powerful set of components, and so that we will get the valuable results from the beginning. So that's the name we get from it's a Latin word ab initio. So it can perform enterprise class functions, data analysis, batch processing, data manipulation, and data transformation. So mainly we will be dealing with data transformation and data manipulation at the beginner level. So ab initio has other tools for data analysis like quality tools like data profiler. So we have any other tools. Coming to the architecture front, I think you are aware of Ab initio's architecture. Like it's basically a client-server architecture, a two-tier architecture. Your GDE will be the client, and your operating system will be the server.
Then what is SDE here, Karthik?
SDE actually it's shell development environment. It was there before GDE evolved. Actually, I haven't seen SDE. It's a theory concept like before GDE comes into play, we had our SDE, that is shell development environment. Basically, it was not like a GUI based thing. So, what I heard from other, one second. Before graphical way of viewing the graphs, we had a shell development environment. It was a previous development environment prior to the GDE evolution. So normally this SDE is not used now, I guess. We use only the GDE. So whatever applications you develop in your GDE, that's on the top of your machine. So we have cooperating system installed on your Unix machine. I think you already know this. The cooperating system can be installed on any Unix machine, Linux, Windows, any other server. Operating system is the heart of our Ab initio architecture, and it unites all your Ab initio products and manages the resources and disk consumption, memory consumption, etc. Your component library that holds all your available Ab initio components for graphs as well as plans, and EME, that is your technical repository. EME stands for Enterprise Meta Environment, your technical repository for managing your source code and version controlling. EME holds all your business as well as technical metadata.
Karthik, here I have a question.
Yes.
We have sandboxes at our end where we normally develop our graph, right?
Yes.
And EME at the server end.
Yes.
The basic difference what I know between EME and this sandbox is
Sandbox.
like EME can hold all the versions of the developed graph. Suppose I am developing a graph and it's of 1.0. Then again I just do some modification and again I deploy. So it will be 1.1 version. So when I go and check into the EME, I'm just guessing. So I will have both versions of graph here, right? 1.0 and 1.1.
You cannot have two versions of a single graph in your single sandbox. Maybe other developers can have. See, the connection between your sandbox and your project is a project can have multiple sandboxes, that is one to many, but the sandbox can be associated with only one project. project in the sense the source code that is available in the EME. Suppose you have a sandbox like, consider the example, data management. Okay, data, that is a sandbox. So that project will be available in your um, EME, that is your project. So suppose for this data management application I have 3 developers, so I will be having 3 sandboxes checked out to 3 different user machines, right? So for my 3 developers I will be having 3 sandboxes. So I will be having a data management sandbox, other 2 guys will be having the data management sandbox. So if any requirement comes, if there is any requirement change comes, then I will modify the code and I will check it back into project. So at that time I will be having the modified code, but others will not be having the modified code. So what I have to do is I have to check it in back to EME, and the other developers have to check out again so that they have the latest version. But whatever happens in the EME is EME it houses already the original code. Now I am checking in the latest code. So EME will house all your latest code as well as your previous code, but sandboxes it will be holding all your latest code at this time. Okay, we will be having only we will be having a single version in your sandbox file system, but your project EME they will be having multiple versions. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yeah, this is what I was just wanted to clear. Like at EME, I will have all versions of the graph.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
While
yes.
checking it out, I will have to select which version I wanted, right?
Yes, 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 you can. Either you can work on the latest version, or you can choose to check out the previous versions also.
How normally we do it? Because I normally have done one way. I have just deployed the graph into the Unix server, but I never checked out to my local system. How we do it?
Okay, okay. Normally, at the start of your project, the projects were already in EME. Okay, so if you are going new into a project, then you will be assigned an Unix ID, Abinitio setup, and you will be getting all the access details. So once you got your Unix box, you have to set up your once you got your Unix access and Ab initio GDE access, you have to set up your Ab initio GDE to connect to the cooperating system. So you will set your host settings, and then you have to check out the sandbox, that is the latest available code that is present in your project. You will be checking out the latest version only at the start of your project. That will be handled in the later classes, Gaurav. I have the screens. How do we check out the latest code? We have options to check out and check in through GDE itself, or else you can use air commands, that is from the backend, that is your Unix prompt. Whether you'll be using putty, you can use your air commands to check in and check out from EME. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall I continue?
Sorry.
Shall I continue?
Yes, continue.
Okay. Okay, this is the client server model. As you can see, GDE can connect to the cooperating system through different modes. The normally used mode is telnet and SSH. We can use FTP, remote execution, and DCOM also. So a cooperating system is installed on your Unix machine, and GDE is installed on your client machine, that is your client desktop. So we need to have a way to make this client machine connect to your cooperating system that is installed on your Unix server. So we will be using this connection protocols to make sure the connection is working. Okay. Okay, it's GDE. Okay. cooperating system, it resides in your Unix server. I think you are already aware of this, so I'll be skipping this. Okay, Abinitio product constituents. What are the Abinitio products that are available, which are provided by Abinitio? GD, you are already aware of. Cooperating system, enterprise meta environment, conduct IT. Have you heard of conduct IT?
No.
No. Okay. Conduct IT, actually it's a graphical workshop like where we can develop plans. A plan is something like we are housing a set of graphs so that they will be executing sequentially. We will be developing plans inside Conduct IT that can run so many graphs as well as your third-party programs and user-defined scripts. So we can run Unix scripts, graphs and other plans inside a plan. So we'll be using Conduct IT for large data processing applications like running 50 graphs one by ones. For these kinds of requirements we'll be using Conduct IT. And other thing,
like do we have any example for conduct IT? Because I heard it first time. So
okay, yeah, example in the sense means, suppose you have 10 graphs and you want to execute that one by one. Okay, what I can do is I can create graph task in my plan so that, and I can connect this all my graphs normally as you would do in a graph while connecting components. Okay, so it will be like in your graph all the individual boxes will be components, but in your plan all the individual boxes will be any graphs or your scripts. So you can directly run 3 or more graphs sequentially using plans. So the whole setup is known as Conduct IT.
Karthikeya, the same we can do through the shell script also, no? In shell script, like in the shell script wrapper, we can
Yes.
can put. So
Yes,
how is this different from wrapper?
yeah. In a wrapper script, actually, you can run different graphs one by one. So the more graphical version of doing that will be your Conduct IT. Okay. Before Conduct IT was evolved, that is like in the earlier versions of Ab Initio, we are using shell scripts, wrapper scripts to run all your graphs. So after Conduct IT was developed, we can use our shell scripts as well as graphs in a single place where we can run multiple graphs sequentially.
So conduct
Okay.
IT came in the later version of the Ab Initio.
Yeah, yes. I think it's not available in the older versions. I think it's it was there after cooperating system 2.15, I guess.
So in which version of GD it's available?
Which version of GD? Actually, I have worked on 1.10 and 1.3. I have not seen Conduct ID there, and after that I have jumped to 3.0 version. So I'm not aware of 1.16 and 1.15. I'm not sure that has Conduct ID license there. Whether we can access plans in GD 1.15 or 6. But after GD 1.16 we had like 3 versions. So in that versions Conduct ID is available. So it's like a different license. We have to buy different license for Conduct ID as you would do for your GDE. So if you have Conduct ID installed, you can develop plans. So in your file menu, you can while developing a graph, you have to click like new and then graph, right, to develop a graph. So if you have Conduct ID installed, you will be getting additional options like new graph or new plan. So plan is something like you develop, that is your individual working module in Conduct IT is plan. So in your GDE, if you are developing an Ab Initio application, so individual working unit will be a graph. So in a Conduct IT, the individual working unit will be plan.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's same like your GDE stays the same. Instead of developing a graph, you will be developing a plan. A plan can run graphs and scripts also.
Okay. Can you please show me later, like how it can be done, if it's possible?
You want me to show now?
Not
Yeah.
now. Matlab, I will just keep it for the electric classes. Like once we are getting to the GD, when you will explain me the components, hopefully you
Yes,
will
yes,
explain me
yes.
over GD environment only. There you can just show me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. Okay. And we have a component library which houses all your available Ab Initio components. So component library, if you are developing a graph, it will be showing the components according to your graph development. That is all your transform components, database components, dataset components, categorized as different folders according to their functionality. So if you are going to develop plans, component library is changed so that it houses uh, task for plans. So if you are developing a graph, the individual units are called components. If you are developing plans, the individual units are called task. So you will be having graph task, plan task, subplan, conditional task, program task. So I'll be explaining all this when I am giving you the introduction about plans. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we have data profiler, that is a quality access tool, business rules environment, application configuration environment. Those are used by business people to create business flows rather than using GDE. And we have continuous flows. This is also a different license that will be used to develop more real-time applications. And technical repository management console, that is the GUI version to access your EME. If you do not have TRMC installed in your project, you have to access EME through command line only. That's the only way.
Kartikeya, that's
Yeah.
from data profiler onwards. Can you in briefly tell me like data profiler?
Yeah. Actually, I have not worked in data profiler. I have not seen the data because I didn't get a chance to work. Data profiler actually is used by the reviewer peoples to analyze the data, analyze the data sets that are present in your EME. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a quality access tool to maintain the quality of your data sets available.
So actually, I like if someone asks like why we use data profiler, and you know,
Yeah, 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 yeah. You are asking in the interview question. Oh, so this data so Ab Initio, if you are going for an Ab Initio interview, it will be like whatever the products you are aware of. So if you tell them like I was aware of data profiler, I have used data profiler, then they will be asking questions from data profiler. So if you have not worked on data profiler, then the questions will be skipped because data profiler is an advanced product from Ab Initio. Only lesser people would have worked on it. Okay. So normally you will be expecting questions from GDE and cooperating system and your AIR commands, that is the EME commands.
Mhm.
So if you are already aware of business rules environment, because they are different tools, right? And we have to buy different licenses to work with. You cannot get trained on anywhere in data profiler, DRE or ACE because we don't have tools for that. They are different applications. Just like your GDE, you will be having a desktop application for data profiler. Okay.
Mhm.
Same is the case with TRMC. That's a different desktop application. So as a beginner, normally you need to be more thorough in GDE, all your components, cooperating system, as well as your EME concepts. So this is required from a beginner perspective.
We are also expecting knowledge about the continuous component, and what I know, like continuous component normally used in the banking or in the online applications, online big applications.
Yes, yes.
So, like, have you worked on continuous component before?
I was actually I get a chance to work on banking domain, but that was skipped due to some other real emergency issues. I was then mapped into healthcare domain. So up to this point of time, I have worked on healthcare domain only. So I didn't get a chance to work on continuous flows. So the continuous flows, what I have heard and what I have read from other sources, like we are using continuous flows for real-time applications. So your components will remain the same, most of the components. So you'll be, instead of giving the source data and getting the target data, like, so if you are going to provide source to your Ab initio graph or plan, you will be using a table, otherwise a file. So those sources are static, right? So we define a source so that will be used as a source data. But in your continuous flows, we will be having subscribe and publish components. So subscribe component, in the sense, it will be subscribed to, say, a web service application that will be receiving continuous input whatever your web service throws. Okay, suppose if I am configuring a web service, configuring a subscribe application to a web service so that it receives continuous input data. Whenever I am receiving the input data, that will be processed. So that will come as more real-time scenario. Okay. So instead of having static input files and tables, we will be using subscribers and publishers. So if you process your data from your input subscribers, then you have to publish your data using publish components to anywhere. Okay.
So, particularly, so how it normally get processed? Suppose we normally receive data from the subscriber, right? Subscriber will be receiving the data from the end user directly, and that data is coming to, suppose we have a graph where we have used the continuous component. Okay.
So if you want to do other transformations after subscribing receives your data, then the normal components processing will be employed. That is, all your transform components that are available, that are used for batch processing, that the same will be used. There is no other change in components as wise.
Okay, so like, we have continuous component in our component library, like when I see it. Okay, so in our normal Ab initio development environment or on project, we have the static data, like in data warehouse. Okay, we have this much of data, from there we are doing processing. But if I am receiving data from subscriber, okay, it must be coming to some staging area where data will be held for some time, or it's something different, which I have not understood.
It's not like we are getting data and then putting it into staging area. So if you have a staging area in your ETL application, then you have to normally dump your data and then process your data. So after you receive your data through your subscribing things, either you can choose to save it in your staging area, or you can directly process your data. That is your architecture, that is your application has followed. So whatever your architecture, the ETL architecture, that is your application follows, that will be employed there. So if you are directly processing the data, without storing in the staging area, then that's fine. If you have a staging area, then after receiving all your data, then we have to store the data in the staging area.
Okay. Okay, Karthik, we can move on. Yeah.
Are you clear?
Yes.
Okay. Shall I continue to the next slide?
Yes, Karthik. Yes.
Okay. And GDE, that's a GUI for building applications in Ab Initio. It is loosely bound to the cooperating system. They have independent release mechanisms, that is a GDE release can come without a cooperating system release. We can develop component library to, we can use component library to develop Ab Initio graphs. Cooperating system that is installed on top of your operating system, that means your Unix or Windows server. It is the environment for integrating all your Ab Initio products and your applications. It actually unites the computing resources like your CPU, your disk management, your memory management. It can run on operating systems like Unix, Windows, and it can connect to all the available databases till now, like Oracle, DB2, Teradata, Greenplum, Netezza, every other newest databases available. We have different components to access the newer databases.
So these components to connect with different your database softwares like your Oracle, DB2, Informatica. So this is integrated within Ab Initio, or we need to subscribe
No.
differently?
We use the same component to connect to different databases, but the parameters would be different for each database. So we use the same input table, output table, update table. So these are the components to connect to the database. So depending upon the database, the components parameters would differ. We will be having slight changes according to the database.
But when I just check with the database component, I can see like we have DB2 component. There is a folder called DB2.
Yeah. For some of the databases, we have some database oriented components that is tied for specific purpose. In your component organizer, you are saying like inside, if you go for database, you will be having different folders for DB2, something like, yes. Those are specifically created to work with for specific usage purposes for that databases alone. Normally, to connect to all the databases, we will be using, so for all the database operations you would do, that we can do from our graphs itself. So the normal database operations like unloading from a table, loading into a table, performing an update, performing a delete, performing an insert, performing a joining directly with your table. So for these operations we are having different components. I think you are aware of all the components under database.
But I have used very less.
Okay.
Very few components I have used. Only I used to connect to the Oracle database.
Okay.
So only a little bit aware about, like, we have one your AIC file and the CFG file, which normally used to connect to the database, and once we have data into our Ab Initio, from there we do the start.
Okay. No worries, even I have used Oracle and DB2 only, because that depends upon our project, right? Whatever project we are assigned to. I have worked on 3 different projects, and they were using, 2 were using Oracle and 1 were using DB2. I didn't get a chance to work on Netezza or Greenplum or the other thing, Teradata. Even I don't know these databases. So whatever databases you are aware of, so it's better like use those components in, and so you will be more familiar using those components, because if you know like there are some syntax, not like syntax change, there will be some extra keywords with referring to each database. So under Oracle you will be writing a different statement than DB2. They have some extra codes, and if you consider Teradata, they have some other utilities. So for that utilities itself, to house those, Abinitio is, they will be using those utilities in your components. So it's up to the preference to use like which database you are connecting to. So the normal usage will be, you have to be more concise and thorough in your Oracle database. So that's the thing mostly all the interviewers expect. So it's not based like a single database your Ab initio knowledge is checked. It's like the basic database thing, whatever you're aware of. Okay.
So like an interviewer will expect like, okay, I should know at least one way to connect to the database.
Yes. Yes.
And I should know like okay, we have the option to connect to the different database, but given the opportunity, I can just get the help from somewhere and use those other database as well to.
Yes. Yeah, yes, because all the components will be same. Just the connection parameters would be different to connect to different databases. Okay, it's not like we have to use entire set of different components if you are jumping from an Oracle database to Netezza database. Okay, and it's not always possible to expect a single developer to have worked on multiple databases, right? Normally you are if you have used database components, so whatever the components you have worked on, and how you are thorough with all your database components, that is the basic functionalities. If you are thorough in all your components, then you can work with any other database. So that knowledge will be checked if you are going for an interview.
And Karthik, one more thing I would ask.
Yeah.
I'm getting into interview questions more. Why suppose Karthik, like, okay, when the interviewer had a candidate of 2 years of experience and 4 years of experience, then how they treat both of them differently? Because obviously the 4 years experienced guy have much knowledge, so how their question is different?
Yeah. So you mean like how will be the questions based on a 2 years experience and 4 years experience, right?
Yes.
Okay. For a 2 years experience, they will be checking the basic component level knowledge. Are they aware of all the components and their parameters and how they are used? Okay. There will not be much scenario questions to check. Basically, what are all the components they have used and what are all the Ab initio products they are aware of. So this will be checked if you are at the very beginner level. So if you have some 4 years experience, so they will be giving more scenario types of questions, and they will check whether you are able to resolve this practical scenarios rather than this question. Okay, how many parameters are there in join? Explain me the parameters. So this question you will be expecting at very beginner level. So for an experienced candidate, like whatever ways the join can be used. Suppose how will you perform change data capture in Ab initio? So if you are going to perform a change data capture, you have to use join component. So this knowledge you need to be knowing if you are a 4 years experienced candidate. You cannot expect this for a 2 years experienced candidate. Okay. So Ab initio interview is like, so interviewer itself knows like how much experience he holds, and by seeing the resume itself we can understand like whatever the products they have worked on, and they will base out the questions based on your resume. So okay, so the questions will be like, so if you are at the very beginner level, if you are aware of all the components and its parameters, and if you are aware of how to work on these various components. Okay.
Okay. And does it make any advantage for a candidate, like if he has worked on different ETL tool as well?
If they are hiring for Abinitio only, then I think it's not mandatory to have worked on other ETL tools. So if they're having other ETL tools knowledge, then it may be an added advantage if you are going for other interviews. So it's not like, so other ETL tools, so seriously man, I didn't know any other ETL tools previously. Only I know only Abinitio only. So it's not like you have to know other ETL tools for learning Abinitio. It's not like that.
Okay, we can move on.
Yeah. Host settings. I think this is the host settings window in earlier version, I guess, right?
I know. Yes.
You are aware of this, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do I need to explain anything here?
No, we can skip it.
Okay. Okay. Creating host file. You know this already. Just we need to fill up your host information and select the connection method. So you can verify your settings. This is the GDE window. This is 1.13 or 1.10, I guess. Is this the version you are currently using? The GDE version?
Here version, I don't see the version here, but on 1.10 I was just working on.
Okay. Now you are using 1.14.
No, not. I just worked on 1.1 for 2 projects delivery, not more than that.
For 2 projects.
Yes. Actually, there were 2 requirements from the clients. For that, we needed some extra component that was not available in the free version of the Abinitio.
Yes.
So like they have given us a license for 6 months to work on the 1.14, because that time I only just came to know it's very costly. 6 months license costs them 6 lakh rupees, something like that.
Yeah. Yes. The newer version has several advantages compared to 1.10 version. Because the components, each component's functionality, somewhat they have, because they are advanced and they have improved the look and feel also. Have you seen this type of GDE? The GDE which is currently shown in screen.
This type, I think, have you maximized the right hand window? Because here I can see like your gray window and your component window.
Yes.
Both are 50-50 shared. It has been, I think, manually managed, right?
Yes, but see, this is actually a more newer version, that is 3.0.1, the GDE version, this one. So if you see, it's different from the previous GDE.
Look and fields are same, it seems.
Yeah, we have different menu options like see file, edit, view, insert, debugger, and repository and run settings. So in your newer settings, see project, run, debug, settings. So you're not having repository connect as an individual menu bar there. So to set your host connections in a newer version, you have to go to settings menu and then manage connections. You will not be having it under run settings. Okay, you have to go to settings here and then manage connections. So you'll be hitting that window, that is the host connection window. Okay. You have seen the sandbox window, right?
Yes.
And the different folders, the hierarchy of a sandbox, graphs, run files except for
Not,
CDMLs?
not in this way. I have just created the sandbox from the GD itself, and then I explored that particular sandbox, like
Okay,
how they
so
automatically
uh,
create.
okay, you have not viewed the sandbox in GDE,
GD.
the already
Yes.
created sandbox.
No, that I'm not.
Okay. So you created the test sandbox, that is, which is not associated with your Ab initio environment, and you have seen the folders.
Yes.
Does your project had EME
Mm-hmm.
in your project? Do they have EME in your project?
Yes, they have. But I
But
didn't explore the EME. I just
okay.
used to just uh, either I developed the graph or that was deployed in the live. That was the project
Okay.
which I worked, that was for 1.14 version. There I was just I have to get the EME version of the graph and then work on it.
So you were working on the you have developed graphs, right? So how will you check out the graphs from the EME? You cannot see that in your sandbox view in the previous version. So you will be having all your graphs here, right? No?
No,
So
not it
so
was
if you
not
click
like
on
just
MP folder, so if you click on MP folder, so before creating a sandbox, I have to go to project and then checkout. Have to select my
Mhm.
EME path, and then I will give my folder name for checking out my project, and then I will open that folder here. If I open that folder here, that's the sandbox actually. If I open my folder here, that will be having different folders, so I can get the graphs under MP folder. So I will just double click that graph here, and I will work on that. That just I have to acquire a lock. I have to lock the graph, and I will change that. There is the locking button here. Change that, and I have to right click the graph. I can check in back to that EME. So is this the way you have worked?
No, not in that way. How we have worked
Okay,
normally, like we have the scenario or the requirement. Okay, based on the
okay,
requirement, we normally have a graph developed at our end. We do a testing in a testing environment. Normally, testing is
okay,
done on GD only. So like we can see like okay, data is being processed properly, or suppose we are having a catch phase where client has supplied a set of data and they wanted to have transformation, and they wanted to just see like how the final outcome will be. Then we provided
okay,
in the test environment, and we have given them access to just see the our final output. And once it's signed off by the client, the same graph is deployed. We deploy it as run as script. Okay, it's deployed as a shell script in the backend server, and from there using the wrapper, those graphs are scheduled. So we have the input files, predetermined path in the input files or multiple file system, and those and after like getting to the light, normally it's get processed, and we have a sanity check on our final outcome, and we provide them access to the clients.
okay. So you will not use GDE to run the graphs. You will be using only the deployed scripts.
GD version we use to test the graph.
Oh, okay. Only for
Because we cannot be deploy directly in the live without testing properly.
so
And
only you do for
in one
testing.
requirement,
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
yeah, Karthik. In the version which I work 1.14, there I normally use to run the graph from GD directly,
Yes.
because that graph was not working properly because of the complexity of the graph and the data architecture. So we were normally running it in the production, like it was connected with the production, and we are fetching the data, and wherever we are having the issues in the components, it was getting failed because of the DML mismatch or other issues. So for debugging, we had to run that graph.
Okay. Okay,
skip
so
it.
the next, so shall I skip it?
Yes.
Okay, you get this sample graph. I think this is the older version,
Yes.
1.10. Yeah. Can you identify the components here, right?
Yes.
Output file, a
So
join
input
component.
file, output file, your then other two components, your
Yeah,
reformat
okay.
component we are using here.
Yeah. So typical parts of a graph, a
Mhm.
components, a data set, all your flows,
Mhm.
ports.
Mhm. Mhm. Kartike, I am having a question here when it
Yeah.
came out of code. Like how would I determine like which component will have multiple input ports or multiple output ports?
Multiple input ports and multiple output ports.
Yeah,
Okay.
just in like in join we have because sometimes they have the question in interview can we use the multiple inputs there? But the component which I work like if we have the join, obviously we have to use the multiple input. Or like
Yes, yes, yes.
in broadcast also, or in replicate, not in replicate, in broadcast, then is there set of components which I can mark, okay, these components will use multiple inputs and these components will only use single input flow.
Okay.
So that,
Okay. There is yeah. There are two things in your question. You are asking like what are the components which are having multiple ports, and the other question is what are the components which can accept multiple input for a single port. Okay, you got the
yes.
difference, right?
Hmm.
Accepting multiple input for a single port and different ports. So I would say like the components which will be having different number of ports, they will be having count parameter associated with it. Suppose if you consider join, it has the count parameter so that we can increase the number of input ports. Okay, if you increase your count parameter to 5, then join can accept 5 different inputs. The default value for count is 2 if you have already seen join component.
Hmm.
Okay, and reformat also we can increase the number of output ports. It also has the count parameter to increase the number of output ports, not the input ports. To increase the count parameter to 5, then reformat will be having 5 different output ports and 5 different transforms associated with each output port. And the second part of the question, what are the components which can accept multiple input? So to find out that, if you get a component and if you mouse over the input port of a component, it will be showing like in a bracket gather. If that gather is present in that input port, then it can accept multiple inputs in a single port. If it is simply like, no, I can type it for you. If you mouse over your input port, if it is like simply in, then it accepts single input. If it is like gather, then it can accept multiple input for the single port. You understood?
Yes.
That means multiple input means you can connect multiple flows for a single input port. In simply in, you can connect only single flow to that port. You can probably check in your GDE tray. Okay. What are the components that have gather input? Like for sort, there is a gather input. You can connect multiple flows. For reformat also, it is a gather input.
Mhm.
Uh, and join, you cannot connect two input flows into a single port. Okay, for filter weight expression I think it's single, uh, not the gather input. It is the normal input. Okay, probably you can check in your GDE today. And ports I have told you. Are you aware of layouts?
In layouts, normally we provide the like rules or the business rules which we require here.
Yeah. Do you know the real purpose of giving the layout and all the layout markings?
No, but
Okay.
I knew before, like if a particular phase is not like if we give a single L1, then those components will be processed that time and L2 will be processed that time. This is my concept. But you can tell me in brief what is it?
Yes. Actually, layout, it identifies two things. Okay. It determines the location of the resource, and it determines how many parallel ways that particular component is running. Okay. To determine the location of the resource, that means where this component is currently executing. I can have my Ab initio graph to have different components running on different host servers. Okay. I can have my one component to run on one host server, and I can have my other component to run on another host server. So to identify that, we have to give the layout of that particular host server. So using layout, we can identify which host the component is currently running on. And the second thing, to identify how many parallel ways the component is running, whether it is serial or whether it is parallel, that will be shown while the graph is running. So there are three markings for your layout. If it is like simply 1, 2 or 3, then the component is running in serial. If it is like 2, then it is running in 2 ways parallel. If it is 3, 3 ways parallel. It goes on like this. If you have a star next to it, 1 second, let me check whether we have anything. Okay. See this graph. It is already executed graph. This components layout, it specifies 1. Then that means these components are running in serial. Okay. And here if you see 1 star, okay, that means the layout is propagated from the neighboring components. If you are having a star next to the layout, then that means the layout is propagated from other components in your graph. Same holds for this also. And for this one, we have defined the layout here. We are not propagating the layout. The serial layout is defined here. That means you have defined A serial in the layout. Okay, whether you will be using A serial or A MFS in your layout normally. And there are other markings like L1. If you have seen L1, right? If you have L1 in your layout, then that means your layout will be determined at the run time. It cannot be determined at the compile time. You got the difference?
Yeah. Can you please go to the previous slide where we have the sample graph which was running?
Yeah,
Okay.
here.
Here I will just explain what you have said right now. You just said like if we have the marking just like say 1 and 1 star. Okay.
If you have
It's
the yes, I will explain you one more time. If you have just the numbers, then it can identify either serial or parallel. If it is 1, it is serial. If it is more than 1, then it is parallel. Okay, you understood this?
So 1 star means it's had propagated from its neighboring neighbor.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is the input file component.
And it's running in parallel. 1 star if it means, right?
No, it's not running in parallel. It's running in serial, but the layout is propagated from other component. Only if it is more than 1, then that means your component is running in parallel.
Okay. So 1 star means what? It had multiple inputs, right? Can we say like that? It had 1 star, it means its inputs are multiple.
It's not like so if you are giving an input file, you will be defining the layout here, right? In the layout window of your properties, you will be using AA serial, right? So for this component, actually you will not go to layout and define AA serial again. Instead of that, you can go to layout window and click propagate from neighbors. Same like you do for DML. Right? You can use the propagate from neighbors in the layout window, so the neighboring layout will be used. So if your component is using a neighboring layout, a star will be next to it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And regarding the other marking, if the component has L in that marking, then it means your layout is determined at runtime. It cannot be determined at the compile time before running your graph. So that is your information.
Okay.
Okay, are you clear?
Yes, but if I say L1 and L2 and
Yes.
L3, so how would I differentiate L1, L2 and L3? One thing I would just conclude like, okay, if it's L, that means the layout will be determined at runtime. Okay,
Yes.
if it's L, but how would I differentiate L1 and L2? L1 means
L1 means the component is running in serial. L2 means the component is running in parallel.
and similarly for L3 and L4.
Yes, yes.
So how this sequence goes on, like L1, L2, L3, L4, how long
Yeah,
it
yes.
will go?
It depends upon how many parallel ways you are running. Normally it will go for 8 ways or 16 ways. I have seen like 8-way parallel multi-file system. So
Eight-way
whatever
parallel
the
we are also using.
whatever multi-file system we have created in our environment, we can have that max. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, continue,
Shall I
please.
shall I proceed? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How do you create a graph? You define your host settings,
That I
choosing
know.
file
To
new,
keep it.
go to component and run the graph. You know this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How your job is run?
You can
When you push
explain
your
here. Wait.
when you push the run button,
That I know. Like we can use the run button to execute it. Later on,
yes,
how it's work.
yeah. Normally in your earlier versions, after you click your run button,
Mm-hmm.
the GDE shifts all your converts your MP file into a KSH file. A graph will be deployed as a script, and that script will be shipped to your cooperating system. Cooperating system executes the script in your Unix machine and it returns the results back. Okay, so in your
It happens always.
yes.
But if we are running in Windows system, which we normally never do, only for at home, normally for practice, right?
Yeah, if it is a Windows machine, the graph will be deployed as a bat file,
Hmm.
.bat file. That is the command line file in your Windows. .bat
So
file.
here, okay. So that file in Unix environment it will be shell script, or in
Yeah, in
Windows it will
Unix
be bat file.
environment it is in Unix environment it is according to the shell we have chosen while doing the connection settings.
Mm-hmm.
If you are choosing KSH shell, then
Mm-hmm.
the KSH script will be deployed.
Mm-hmm.
In earlier versions like 1.10, we have to manually deploy our script, right? After saving your graph, you have to click to run and deploy a script. In all your newer versions, after dynamic script generation functionality has come, you don't need to directly manually do that deploy a script thing. Once you save your graph, the graph will be automatically deployed as the script in your server. You do not do that manually again and again. So this is part of dynamic script generation. This is present in GDA Abinitio versions after 3. Okay.
Okay.
How do you execute a graph? Either you can execute from GDE or you can use a script from the backend. See, it is mentioned here, right? It can be deployed as a Unix shell script or a Windows NT batch file.
That
Yeah, that is .bat file.
okay. This I also
The runtime,
understand.
yeah, the runtime status in a graph. You know this, right?
Yeah, can skip it.
Okay. And DML, it stands for data manipulation
I
language.
know.
You know this, right? Abinitio stores metadata
Hmm.
here
Mhm.
in the basic types, compound types.
Base types I know. Component types in the chord or vector or union I have not worked on it. I simply work on
Okay.
the base types.
Record is something like which is
We
having
got
different
what I
fields.
know. Yes, different fields of different data type, and then we can use it as a data type while using it, right?
Yes, yes, yes. You are correct. So so to access the different elements, we will be using. So I will give you an example here. Shall I?
Mm-hmm.
Suppose you are having decimal of 5. ID. Sorry. Suppose I am having door number, street name, zip, and I am ending that with address. This is a record type. Okay. So to access the different elements, I should use like address dot door number, address dot zip. Okay. This is a record type created within your outer record type. Suppose I am having customer details. So I will be having customer ID as a single field, customer name as a single field, and I am having address as a compound field. So it is a record here. So I have to again in the field. Do you understand how to declare a record type?
Yes.
Okay. So for each record type we will be using record and end, again the delimiter keywords. Okay. So and the other data type vector, right?
In a previous record example, Karthike, can you please
Yeah.
go to here we have one record type called address record type. Okay.
Yes.
And the outer record, we have not given any name to the outer
Here.
record, right?
Here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah. So, like, we will be, what we have done here, we have declared a record type, or why
Yes.
we have used
Actually,
two record.
this is the record format which is the DML which you should be using in the ports. Okay. This is the record format. So the basic syntax of a record format is this one. Your record and end and all your data type fields, data type fields, data type fields. So instead of creating a single field with single data type, we are using a compound data type. So to use a compound data type like record, the syntax for record data type is using record and end keywords. Okay. You cannot give these three things and then give address at the end. Think of this as a structure in C programming language. right? Do you know C language?
Yeah, in college we have done it.
Yeah. Think of that. Try to remember the structures. How do we use these structures? How do we access? How do we create a structure? So the same way we are creating a record type here. Okay, this is a type which is present in this record format. Okay, so if you are going to create a vector, then what you have to do is, the vector is something like having multiple elements of the same data type. Either it can be a simple data type or a compound data type. Okay, consider like I am declaring a vector to hold the mobile numbers of this customer or contact numbers.
Okay.
Decimal of 10 contact numbers. So this is the default thing. Okay, suppose if I want to store two contact numbers, that is one for mobile and one for landline, I will be going for a vector. So declaring a vector is something like your data type and then your square brackets to identify the number of elements here. So this tells like we have created a vector contact numbers of which will be containing two elements. Okay, to store the two contact numbers. I can make this record type as a vector too by declaring 5 here. So if I declare it as a vector, then I will be having 5 addresses for each customer. You understood this? This is the DML, that is pixel length DML. Tell me, Gaurav, if you have any questions here.
No.
Okay. So you know about the delimited DML, right? Variable length.
Yes.
Okay. So how do we declare a variable length DML here? Can you please tell me one thing? For a customer ID, my delimiter is pipe.
Pipe symbol or the colon. This type of delimiter we normally use in the field.
Okay, this like this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is sample data here. I think you're already aware of it.
Yes.
So here the first 4 fields specify the ID, and up to the first comma, that will be first name. Then once your new line character comes, then your record ends.
Shall I ask a question here?
Sorry?
Shall I ask a question here, Karthik?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Like whenever we have the final record state or the last record of a row, we
last field.
Yes, last field, right? Last field.
Okay.
Then we normally put a new line as a delimiter or
it's a better it is a better practice to use new line as the record delimiter to end your to use it as your delimiter for your last field. Yes. So basically it will be helpful if you are reading that file in Unix. Okay. Suppose if you are not using a record delimiter, if you try to view the file in Unix, then it will be like collapsed. You cannot view the file directly, right? If you have a record delimiter as new line, then each record will be in one new line, correct? So basically, if you are creating a data type that is a record format, it is advisable to use /n as your n delimiter for a record. Okay, so the normal practice is using /n to end your records. It's not like we have to use /n here. I can use any delimiter. Okay.
any delimiter means can we use comma or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
symbol for the,
yes.
but
Yes, you can.
that normally deteriorates the output file now, because I used when I was using it in beginning, I don't understand why we are giving new line, and then sometimes I just experimented all those things. I given different TML for the last record. Then what it's coming, like if you are not giving new line for the last record, then different data is coming to different column.
No, if you have defined your delimiter correctly, then all the fields would have come correctly. There might be issue in your data. It is not like you have to define delimiter /n at the end. Okay, it's not mandatory. So it is recommended to use /n. Maybe you'll be having some you should have some issues in your data. Probably check on that. So instead of this, suppose if I have my record like this, what I will be doing? Consider this record here. 100 comma Karthik comma ID name city salary. Okay, city and then my salary, and then again 100 110 Gaurav Chennai, again this coming, and then again I am having other record. So what is the DML you will be using for this? So you have to use
comma
yes.
delimited.
Yes,
Okay.
I have to use a comma delimiter for every field, right? So how will you identify all the records? I have to use comma delimiter. I cannot use /n delimiter. If I use /n delimiter at the end, then all the records, all these will be considered as a single record, right? So
Yes, Karthik.
according to the delimiter that is present in the data, you have to use the record format.
Here I would like to just say, like suppose one row contains the first 4 fields, fine, 100 Karthik Chennai 12,000, fine. This makes my one record, one row. Okay. Then for the last record, say it's salary. Okay, I will put add // and add my delimiter.
Which is the delimiter?
One second कर देखिए. अभी कुछ भी कर दीजिए, रात का बचा होगा. गरम कर दीजिए उसे. रोटी बचा हुआ होगा. हाँ, घी दे. और चाय कर दीजिए. दीदी, चाय. Sorry Karthik, exactly my cook has come.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Karthik, what I was telling, like, okay, I know like 12,000 is my last record of the first row, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I have to put /n before starting my new record, right?
Okay, you have the data like this, but you are ending the records. Okay. So normally what I have to do is I have to declare my DML like this. Okay.
Okay.
String city and then salary end. So if you view the record format like this only, you can, if you use this record format and you are trying to view the data, then you will be viewing the correct data through view data window. If you are declaring some other DML other than this, you will not be able to get the correct data.
That's fine, that I understood. But how it will get a new record?
So new record means, so this is the last field, right?
Yes, yes.
Salary. So after the last field, it is the second record. So we are telling a way
Okay.
to identify the last record. There is
So
nothing like only slash n identifies the last record. Identifies the one record. Your last field identifies your one record, correct? So constituting all these four fields is my one record, and that record is delimited by this comma at the end. So this is the way we are informing Abinitio to read the file. Do you get my point?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So new line is just a delimiter. So I can have it here also. Consider like I'm using slash n here. So my data should be like this. 100 Karthik Chennai, and then here my data should be like this. I can have it like this also.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is nothing like if a new line comes, it holds as a one record. So it is according to our preference how the data is coming. So in this case, how will you tell? There are 4 records in a file? No. There are only 1, 2, 3 records. There is no 4 records. Okay?
Yes.
But the problem arises when you are counting the records using Unix. So suppose if you want to count the number of records in your Unix, what is the command which you will use in Unix to count the number of records?
And WC-L.
Yes. So we will use word count and then line, right? So in this case, WC-L will give you 4, right? But in the actual case, we are not having 4 records. We are only having 3 records. So to avoid this conflict, it is recommended to use slash n at the end, so that we will be getting correct number of records in slash n. So you got this? Why we are recommending slash n at the end? Are you clear, Guru?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I think this is 1.13. No. I think it's 1.13. Okay. Methods to create DML. For database components, we have generate button, or we have to create manually, or you can use your Unix command to generate the DML in the backend. So the normal way is writing your DML in the embedded form, and then we can propagate it as necessary. XFR, that is what is your transform function. We can store it as XFR file so that we can reuse it later.
For XFR, I need in detail.
Oh, sorry.
For XFR topic, I need some more detail because.
Okay. So whatever transform which you are,
we can also,
yeah.
if you are interested to keep it for the component level explanation, then you can keep it.
Yeah, yes, I can explain what is XFR is. So whatever transform which you are writing, so normally we will be getting some requirements like to transform the data. So we will be using the transform components to manipulate the data and change the data and whatever the format or everything. So whatever transformation we are applying, we will be doing that in our transform components. If you want to do the transform again, so that if we can use it again, you can save the transform as a file, and then I can use the file later. So the file extension which you use while saving a transform is .xfr. Okay. The transform functions can be embedded within a component, or it can be stored externally with the .xfr extension. So this is a sample transformation. I get my input data like this. I'm going to transform my data like this. My employee ID, my date column at the last end, and my first name and last name concatenated together. Okay. Let me know if you have any doubt in this transform, a sample transform. ID,
No.
joining date, first name and last name, and then ID, single name. I have used concatenate to concatenate first name and last name, and then join date at the end. Right? Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. And then file types.
I know it.
Yeah, you have serial files and multi files. Okay. Abinitio's non-parallel file, that is your serial file. Parallel file, that is your multi-file. It will be having a control partition and one or more data partitions. Have you worked on multi-files before?
Yes, Karthik. I normally work in a multi-file system. There is less requirement for the single file file.
Oh, you have
So
worked on multi-files more.
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't understand the logic behind the multi-file system. What I understood previously, that was my misunderstanding. On a single server, files are kept on different partitions. But later on, I came to know
yeah.
Later on, I came to know multiple files can be kept on different server, and a link can be provided to access those files in the form of multi-file.
Yes, you are correct. Either we can have our data partitions in a single machine, or we can have our data partitions in different host machines. Okay.
Then
While creating your multi-file, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, while creating a multi-file, we have to define what is the control partition and what are all the data partitions. You have to give the absolute location of your data partitions. So if you choose to create your data partition in another server, you must have your both systems connected. So by that way, you can actually create a multi-file that can reside in multiple host servers.
Then who normally decides, Karthik?
So normally in our project scenario, actually we will be using multi-files which are present in the same server only. So you cannot. So if your application is supporting a very complex level application and your Ab Initio is required to run on more parallel way, and it requires more computing resources, then in that rare cases, because it supports that, so in that cases you may be having data at different host servers. So where you will put your data, that means whoever creates your source data and your application admin, he has the rights to put the data in one server or multiple servers. Okay.
So this is not a developer's choice to use which multi-file system. It's exactly the requirement of the project, right?
Yes, whoever has created the multi-file system environment, he has to decide where my data partitions exist. Okay. While creating the multi-file system, we can choose right. Have you seen the multi-file system before, how it looks like?
We cannot access the multi-file system, because if we try to do it, we will have some corrupted data. But we normally use amdump command and DML, and then we can see. But when I checked while doing analysis, I saw
what are the command you are using? m_dump, right?
Yeah, mdump. Then
m_dump, that is
DML.
used to view the data. Okay. You can use m underscore expand on that m file. Okay. Try
Okay.
using m underscore expand. M underscore expand my multi-file. Okay. File name. Absolute location. It will list you what are the locations of your control partition as well as your data partitions. Try using that today.
Okay.
Okay. So where is my control
Yeah.
partition is located? Where is my data partition is located? So that details will be displayed. Okay, you can use m underscore expand. Okay. Okay, and then after file types, we have parallelism concepts and this. Okay, I think it's 9 o'clock. And Gaurav, I want to ask one thing. How do you want to plan this session actually, whether you want more number of days or more number of hours? Normally the session would take 30 to 35 hours. So if you want to
I was
have a
just told it will
daily,
be
yeah,
45 hours class. I was told, Karthike. Okay.
35,
45 hours of class.
45,
Yes, 45.
no, no, it should be like around 35 hours. 35 hours to 40. So I can cover most of the things under this. So you need not worry. So you cannot worry like the more number of hours I will get more exposure. It's not like that. I can give you more scenarios since you are already aware of all your concepts. I can go through that quickly and you can give you more concepts to work with. Okay.
I'd also want at the end of the session, like you could have cross questions to understand what I have understood, and obviously, as I would expect you to judge me like an interviewer, like treat me like a candidate, and you are just
Yes.
trying to hire a
Yes.
candidate, and like how I want to like honest feedback, like how am I doing? It's okay. It might be like I don't know because I have attended 2 and 3 interviews, but it was not good at all. Okay, because I never understood the psychology of the interviewer. I just gave them gave them information what I understood. So
Okay. So yeah. Before I try to access you, I should explain you all the concepts and I should give you some hands-on sessions so you need to be practically experienced with so that I can assess you later. Okay.
yes.
And daily shall we have like 1.5 hours daily or you want to like up to 2 hours daily?
Karthik, I would prefer 1.5 hours because I have to prepare for the office also.
Yes.
Office is far away from my home, so I have to travel for
Okay.
1 hour.
Okay. Currently, are you in Hyderabad or Bangalore?
No, I'm in Kolkata.
Oh, okay. So
I
let's
was in
plan like,
Chennai. I worked there for 2 years in Chennai. Then I
okay.
transferred to the Kolkata.
Okay.
And
Let's have
Karthik,
it
you
like this.
have
So
openings. You have opening in your company on 18th. You said in the beginning of the class.
yeah, that's for 3 to 8 years.
Okay. Is this possible for you to refer me?
No, they were requiring like it's for more than 3 years experience in Abinitio.
I want to have a try. I have 4 years of experience in IT, but